Alex Shuriket presents my very emotional parody audiobook, Steamgelion! Roles played by Соня Иванов, Синдзи Икари,
Marina Kalina,
Misato Katsuragi, Rimaka Gage, Ritsuko Akagi, Commander Ivanov, Gendo Ikari, Raya Enama, Rei Ayanami,
Hanka Litvinenko,
Asuka Langley,
Ali Katzman,
Aida Kensuke, Toля Suzuhara, Todzi Suzuhara,
Roma Kazi,
Ryuji Kazi. First season, 8th episode. The bright red popular car in which Comet Kalina, Comet Agevich, Sanya, Anka and Raya were sitting was racing at full speed as usual, inexorably approaching the undergrunker. Moreover, Sanya, who this time was sitting between the girls, no longer thought about speed, radio clubs and other nonsense, but only furtively glancing at Raya. Raya looked serene and Anka simply enjoyed the trip. Comet Kalina opened the cover of the radio on the dashboard, glanced briefly at the frequency and flipped the power switch. Driven by a sense of communist duty, the radio tubes warmed up a little faster than usual. Comet Kalina took the microphone and said into it.
Kalina calls the intelligence department. Kalina calls the intelligence department.
A voice suspiciously familiar to the school children replied over the radio.
We intelligence department speaking.
Wow, Raya said.
What does our old and very wise teacher do in the intelligence department? He works part-time there.
Comet Kalina answered and said into the microphone.
Intelligence department, report the situation.
Obama is approaching from the south. The alleged target of the enemy is Red Square.
Roger.
Having dispersed the man in front of the hastily raised barrier, the car flew into the already familiar tunnel of descent into the ground. Having rushed through the man-made cave lit by Illich lamps, which daily served 3 platoons of electricians, the car stopped at the entrance to the headquarters.
Let's get dressed.
Comet Kalina commanded, running out of the car, grabbing her submachine gun.
Anka and I change clothes first.
Raya demanded. Alright, Sanya reconciled. To the greatest regret of the perverse, the scene of girls dressing up was cut by me at the request of my wife, by the order of the Communist Party. Finally, the children took their places in their fully prepared military machines. Anka's combat uniform also turned out to be black, much to Sanya's displeasure. But he, like a real man, albeit a beginner, did not betray his feeling outwardly, only deciding to win back on Obama. Already at the command center, Comet Kalina winked at Comet Kazin, who was standing next to Comet Ivanov, and commanded.
We withdraw the Soyuz AC and the Soyuz AB through the second southern tunnel. Raise the Soyuz AA to the surface through exit number 4. Comrades pilots, Red Square is only 35% restored, so you need to intercept Obama on its way. Galil, Small, you attack. Rest, you stay in the center of Red Square just in case.
But then, Comet Ivanov suddenly looked up from knowing patterns on the body of the pen and said, "Stop!" Comrade Kalina turned to the boss so sharply that her submachine gun almost broke the belt and clarified.
Comrade Ivanov, what does your stop mean?
"Stop the withdrawal of the Soyuzes," Comrade Ivanov replied, starting to chuckle.
Comrade Ivanov!
Comet Kalina cried out in complete incomprehension.
What the hell is going on?
And then Comrade Ivanov and Comrade Kazin burst out laughing in unison. "How gloriously we fooled you all!" Comrade Ivanov exclaimed through laughter and extended his hand to Comrade Kazin. "Comrade Kazin, give me 5! Comrade Cousin did it and then, pointing his finger at Comrade Kalina, clutched his stomach, continuing to laugh. It was a readiness test, Comrade Kalina, Comrade Ivanov said. It's so dark outside, what kind of Sam will fly in to fight at night?
What stupid Kalinina?
Comrade Cousin agreed.
What?
Comrade Kalina was furious and held an unkind look at the engineers, who also began to giggle. Comrade Agevich at that time looked completely bewildered.
But we are for this!
Comrade Ivanov stood up and said, "Calm down, relax, Comrade Kalina. The Communist Party said to suddenly check the combat readiness, and what did the Komsomol say?" Comrade Kalina pouted her lips and muttered,
It'll be done, but I'll remember this case. Small, galley rest. Did you hear? Stop preparation.
Slamming the door, Comrade Kalina left the command center. Passing by Comrade's cousin and Ivanov, who again burst out laughing, Comrade Agevich cast a disapproving glance at them, but said nothing. Having laughed to his heart's content, Comrade Cousin left the command center and skipped somewhere along the Grunker. When he passed through the darkest corridors, into which 3 platoons of electricians apparently forgot to look, someone unexpectedly hugged him from behind and began to smoothly pull him into a completely dark utility room. Chilling with horror, Comrade Cousin heard Comrade Kalina's hot voice.
So, you say stupid Kalinina, my dear. Oh, what's in your pocket? Handcuffs. Okay, we'll need this.
And the terrible scream of Comrade Cousin resounded through the underground. Fair until midnight on Saturday, Comrade Kalina poured alcohol into her grief. Sanya, who also grieved over the missing party and the confiscated opportunity to recoup on the Sam, tossed and turned for a long time and could not sleep. And in the end, the rise in the Ivanov's apartment was announced only at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Restoring her health, Comrade Kalina had already taken the third portion of the frontline 100 grams when the phone suddenly rang.
Who else is calling in the morning?
Comrade Kalina asked, extremely displeased, putting the empty glass on the table and bringing a bunch of green onions to her nose. The caller was not frightened, and he continued to insist on receiving the call. Comrade Kalina went out into the hallway and picked up the phone.
Speaking.
Hello? The voice of Comrade Ivanov came from the receiver. Comrade Kalina?
That's right.
She replied in a rude tone and stuck out her tongue. Comrade Kalina, we have a combat alert. Gather your pilots immediately and arrive at Vennegrunker.
Again? I do not believe.
What does I don't believe mean?
Neither once. Who will believe you twice?
What are you talking about, Comrade Kalina? I repeat once again, we have a combat alert. Comrade Kalina covered the microphone with her hand and asked Sanya, who was fiddling with his revolver, turning it on his finger.
Sanya, what's your middle name?
Gennadievich. Sanya answered, and then his weapon fell off and flew into the sideboard, fragmenting the glass of the door. Ouch. Comrade Kalina removed her hand from the microphone and calmly continued the telephone conversation.
Genich, are you kidding again?
What kind of Ganesh am I to you, Comrade Kalina? Are you drunk or what? Give the phone to my son immediately!
Alright, Genich. We are going, don't reach.
I will. Comrade Ivanov was indignant, but Comrade Kalina hung up. Sighing, she looked at Sanya and said,
So small, an alert. Call Unkind Ryan, let's go.
While the Победа car was again carrying its passengers to New Victory, Comrade Kalina gradually sobered up and began to realize that she had been conducting her conversation with her boss somewhat incorrectly. Already at the headquarters, carefully opening the door of the command center, Comrade Kalina made the sweetest face and slipped into her place at the periscope, saying affectionately as she walked,
I'm glad to greet you, Comrade Ivanov. Oh, what a beautiful pen you have today.
The formidable boss, who was tapping his pen on the surface of the table, said in response, "I'm glad to greet you, Comrade Kalinina, too." "So, Ganich, you say?"
Ouch.
Comrade Kalina exclaimed, hiding behind the periscope and peeking out from behind it.
Well, it seemed to me what the Communist Party said. You have to joke. It happened by accident.
Ah, by accident. Well, let's look at your behavior in the battle, Comrade Kalina. And if you lose the fight, I will play pranks on you. This time, the real Obama was attacking from the west. As in that case with the check of combat readiness, Comrade Kalina ordered to send Sanya and Galu to attack and left Rust in the center of the half-broken Red Squad for its defense. The creepy size transport mechanisms carried the Soyuz AB and the Soyuz AC to the western outskirts of the capital. Most of the buildings here did not have the ability to sink underground, and therefore the battle was expected to be hot. While the pilots were waiting for the enemy to arrive, Anka slightly turned her Soyuz AC towards the Soyuz AB and said,
Oi, Small, what's the cool machine gun you have?
Really? And I do not get tired of admiring your mace. Maybe we'll change?
You're not kidding.
I'm serious. Not Marina, can we?
Comrade Kalina glanced at Comrade Ivanov, but he just calmly continued to chew on the pen.
No objections.
And the robots exchanged weapons impressively. Sanya waved Anka's mace in his hand and said, "This is my toy." Anka, throwing up the machine gun and putting its butt to the shoulder of her robot, exclaimed,
All right, we do not take prisoners.
Unable to contain the fighting impulse, Anka fired a long burst. Oh, fatal accident! Suddenly jumping out from behind the mighty trees, the Sam, who was hiding behind them in some bad intention, fell right under Anka's bullets. A series of ruptures passed through the middle of its body, and the Sam fell apart into two parts. Its torso separated from its legs and collapsed to the ground. The lower half of its body knelt down and slammed against the fallen upper body with a crash. Dust flew up.
What?
This is all what Anka could say when she saw the result of her shooting.
What?
Sanya confirmed, even lowering his mace in surprise.
What? Is this the end?
Comrade Kalina shook her head impressively and said,
Well, you got you done.
Comrade Agevich clapped her hands happily and jumped up, exclaiming, The engine survived! Then Comrade Kalina raised the periscope higher, allowing herself to look at the remains of the Sam, which were now hidden from the pilots by some buildings and the cloud of dust, and saw something frightening. It was undoubtedly scary, because in that era no one had yet heard of any Transformers, and therefore the spectacle that appeared could cause panic in anyone. Well, of course, anyone except Comrade Kalina, in whose veins some quantity of alcohol still walked. The two divided parts began to change, gradually taking on the appearance of two full-fledged combat machines. Feeling no sign of fear, Comrade Kalina commanded.
Comrade Ivanov, contact the Minister of Defense immediately.
What is there? Comrade Ivanov asked, but picked up the phone on his desk. Connect me with the ministry. Feeling that the alarm had risen at the headquarters, Sanya asked a question, peering in vain at the dusty cloud that hid the defeated enemy.
Loud Marina, what do you see there?
It would be nice if someone explained to me what I see there.
Comrade Kalina said, rushing to Comrade Ivanov's table. At that moment, Comrade Agevich clung to the periscope and exclaimed in horror. Wake it up!
Who are we? She was alone. According to the rules, there should be only one.
Anka clapped her hands happily and said,
What? I feel we'll fight now perfectly.
At that moment, Comet Karina took the phone away from Comet Ivanov and shouted into it.
We have an emergency! Drop the double naked bomb right now!
Comet Ivanov jumped up and pulling the receiver back to himself, barked into it. Don't do it!
Do it!
Comet Karina insisted.
In our series, you can't let the robots freeze upside down!
Don't do it! The cartography department will devour us! We will have to redraw the map!
Do it!
Don't do it! Furry Comet Ageish also jumped to the phone, shouting into the microphone with tears in her voice.
Don't listen to her! Where's an engine? The American engine! It's not damaged!
Listening to all this swearing over the radio, Sanya pulled himself together and began to carefully peer into the settling dust. And indeed, very soon everyone was able to see two terrible silhouettes that had already moved on the attack.
Wretched bastards!
But on the other hand, we sort of divided it into two parts ourselves. Out, Marina! Stop barking there! We enter the fight! Two of his Obamas saw two, just one for each.
The fight of words in the control center was replaced by a very silence. Sanya moved his Soyuz AB towards the enemies and said,
Galio, I take the left Obama.
Well, mine is the right, Obama.
For the motherland, the weapon to battle!
To battle!
Distributed on the targets, the pilots seemed to guess right, since Obama A, chosen by Sanya, turned out to be unarmed, invitingly beckoning with his palm to engage in hand-to-hand combat, and Obama B, chosen by Anka, played with an automatic cannon, snatched from behind his back. Apparently, as in films about the Divisional Commander Chapayev, Obama B wanted to let Anka get closer. And the Soyuzes were stealthily approaching, dragging their vital flexible pipelines behind them. Finally, barely catching the aggressive movement of the enemy robot, Anka forced her Soyuz to fall on one knee and gave a short burst. Obama B instantly took a step to the side and fired a series of shots in response. Soviet bullets, to the great sorrow of the capital's forestry, exploded in the thick of spruce thickets. The bullets of the enemy, also whistling past the desired target, destroyed. Sorry, I didn't see what it was. At that moment, Comet Kalina remembered she could not lose today's battle, and releasing the phone, took her place at the periscope, deliberately lowering it lower. But Comet Ivanov did not blunder this time. Rising from the floor, he gestured for Comet Ageish to step aside, hung up the phone, and pulled out one of the drawers of his desk. Taking out a whip with the inscription "Made in Kamarova Village," he aptly clicked the whip on the exposed area of Comet Kalina.
Ouch!
She cried, hastily raising the periscope and hiding behind it.
What am I to you, a horse or what?
Comrade Ivanov grinned and, collecting the whip in a ring, inquired, "And what am I to you, proctologist?" At this time, Sanya had already reached Obama A. Obama A squealed wildly and, famously raising its right leg, tried to hit the Soyuz AB on the head, but the left forearm of the Soyuz AB shot up as if by itself and blocked the blow. The mighty mace shot up and went on a brutal trajectory towards rapprochement with what was apparently the head of Obama A. But Obama A also put a clear block. Obama A immediately swung for a direct blow with its right fist. Sanya stepped aside and stomped on the opponent's left foot with all its strength, and then contrived and properly slammed the mace on the enemy's head. Obama A sprawled on the ground unconscious.
1, 2, 3,
Comet Kalina began to count.
4, 5.
And then Obama A stirred, clearly intending to get up.
Galio!
Called Sanya, taking advantage of this short pause.
Who are you there?
I'm shooting and shooting.
Anka responded over the radio.
He's a dodgy bastard.
Save ammo! There aren't many of them!
Why didn't you say before, Sashko? I've been watering here like an airsoft machine hunter.
Wow! Do you know about airsoft too?
I do. We also play in Ukraine, but we don't tarnish it and masquerade like you do. Oh, the button on your uniform is wrong. The helmet is too cheap.
Okay, let's talk about it later. Mine is almost up.
Comrade Karina coughed over the radio. Apparently, she somehow misunderstood Sanya's phrase. Anka, in view of her purity, only confirmed the receipt of information and continued the battle. Obama B rushed about like a madman, running between the destroyed buildings. Obama B did not allow Anka to aim and clearly provoked her to waste ammunition with its rapid-fire behavior. And unfortunately, Sanya's warning about the severely limited ammunition load sounded too late, because very soon after pulling the trigger, instead of the recoil caressing the shoulder as they see, there was only an empty click of the firing mechanism.
Dollar capitalism!
Anka swore, hiding her robot behind the department store.
No more ammo! Aunt Marina, is there really no way for me to reload my weapon?
Comrade Kalina did not hesitate to answer.
We didn't expect you and Small to exchange weapons. Everything is designed for him. Usually in such cases, he went into a violent attack.
A series of ruptures beat into the body of the department store. Glass, pieces of concrete, and twisted fitting fell down. Peeking out from behind her hiding place for a second, Anka saw what Obama V had almost openly rushed at her.
Yes, bastard!
Anka backed and squeezed the weapon with the hands of the Soyuz AC stronger.
Well, wait a bit, I'll meet you! But I would like a grenade now!
Hand grenades are still in development.
Comrade Karina thought a little and, as if having made up her mind, added.
But where's the grenade launcher?
Wow! Where is it?
But only it hasn't been tested yet.
Nothing, now let's test it!
Retreat 100 meters to the north. Now we lift it to you by a secret elevator.
Roger!
Anka did as she was told, and soon the roof of one of the liquor stores opened and a huge object rose out of it, outwardly resembling a disposable grenade launcher. Anka immediately put down her machine gun and grabbed the grenade launcher. Deftly throwing the grenade launcher on the shoulder of her robot, she exclaimed,
Let's send a souvenir!
To this moment in the control center, Comet Agevich suddenly rushed to the periscope, pushed Comet Kalina away, and barely looking into the periscope, shouted,
Got you! Turn it around!
But the valuable indication of the chief mechanic of the most advanced Soviet combat machines, named after Vladimir Lenin, was belated. And after a thunderous shot, the rocket-propelled grenade rushed forward. More precisely, rushed back. Seeing how the grenade flies quite menacingly right into the periscope, Comrade Agevich lost consciousness and smoothly slid to the floor. Comrade Karina clung to the eyepieces and in a moment assessing the situation, barked.
Rest?
It'll be done.
I responded, instantly realizing what was required of her, and forced the Soyuz AA to throw up the weapon. The muzzle of the gigantic sniper rifle snarled with fire, and the flying grenade exploded halfway through its path, struck down by an equally gigantic sniper bullet. A medal? Comrade Ivanov proclaimed, and the engineers nodded their heads.
To whom?
Comrade Karina asked with hope. To me, Comrade Ivanov said sarcastically, already filling out the award paper for Aya, and Comrade Karina, offended, returned to the leadership of the battle. Meanwhile, in the second round of hand-to-hand combat, the victor went to Obama A. Having missed a terrible blow, the Soyuz AB collapsed on the pelvic part, crushing a bus of a funeral agency and almost pinching own fuel oil pipeline. Turning out not to be very novel, Obama A tried to kick the down Soyuz AB with his feet, but Sanya, angry at such dishonor, struck Obama A with his base at CD and forced it to retreat. At this moment, Obama B, extremely impressed by the force of the flame from the grenade launcher and apparently mistaking it for a flamethrower, hid behind the department store. Annoyed by her oversight, Anka threw away the weapon she had just tested and barked.
What idiot came up with such a design of grenade launcher?
Without waiting for any answers, Hanka grabs the machine gun with the hands of her robot and measures the distance from her location to the department store with her eyes. And then she reached for the black and yellow handle above her head and said,
"Who does not risk? She does not drink champagne."
Obedient to the wishes of Anka, the flexible steam pipeline bounced off the Soyuz AC. Steam rushed in all directions.
Galio, what are you planning?
Comrade Kalina asked anxiously over the radio, having received a report from first engineer about Anka's robot switching to autonomous mode.
Now you'll see!
Anka gritted through her teeth, forcing the Soyuz AC to sit down, compressing like a mighty spring. Having accumulated a great charge of kinetic energy, the Soyuz AC took off into the air and landed right on the roof of the department store, which now served as a cover from Obama B. The roof of the building collapsed to stories, but in general the building survived.
Greetings from Ukraine!
Exclaimed Anka, raising her machine gun and aiming it with the bayonet knife right in the face of Obama B, who now raised its head, clearly interested in the roar above. Die! Accompanied by Anka's wild scream, the machine gun rushed at Obama B and with the bayonet knife brutally hit into its face, plunging into the body of the Obama B the entire length of the barrel. Obama B's hands dropped weakly and Obama B, slowly leaning over, collapsed on its back, destroying the private house of some official. Rejoicing, Anka made the Soyuz AC in addition jump from the roof directly onto the chest of Obama B. Unable to withstand such treatment, Obama B exploded, throwing Anka's weapon 50 meters away. At that moment, Comrade Kalina glanced sympathetically at the unconscious Comrade Agevich, but said nothing.
Swall!
Anka called, heading for the machine gun.
How are you?
Third round.
Sanya reported.
Wait a minute, I'll help you!
Galio, it's not obligatory.
Don't be shy, comrade!
And the Soyuz AC rushed to help the Soyuz AB. Wanting not to lose face in front of Anka and to show that he is worth something, Sanya attacked Obama AB with redoubled fury. Powerfully swinging, Sanya put all his strength into the diagonal blow and even breaking Obama A's forearm, with which it tried to block the mace, blew off its head. The headless body collapsed to its knees, then fell on its side and sprawled on its back, but it didn't explode.
Well done.
Kalina praised.
Small, maybe right here. Well done.
Anka supported, still approaching at full speed.
You did it yourself. A real warrior.
You're exaggerating. Sanya was shy and turned his robot to face the running Soyuz AC. And then Sanya saw the lying head of Obama A. The head was located just in the path of Anka's robot. Sanya wide opened his eyes and shouted, "Galio, look under your feet!"
What?
Anka did not understand, and then Soyuz AC stepped directly on the head of Obama A. The Soyuz AC slipped and flew with all its metal carcass towards the Soyuz AB with Anka's scream. The machine gun flied up into the sky. The Soyuzes collided with a terrible roar. The Soyuz AB could not resist and collapsed on its back, and the Soyuz AC crashed on top of the Soyuz AB. After spending a short time in the sky, Anka's machine gun headed for the ground and quite by accident hit Obama A with the bayonet knife in some big place. There was an explosion and there was almost nothing left of Obama A.
Poor old Rim.
Comrade Karina sighed, releasing the handles of the periscope. To be continued.